I reached out to a couple of my farmer heroes, people I look up to, people I'm learning from, whether from a distance or working with up close. And two of those dynamic farmers are here with us tonight. I'm going to bring to the screen, he's known as the sweet potato man. He's a dear brother who and farmer who we've been working with now for, I want to say maybe 3 years or so, somewhere in that neighborhood. But can y'all help me welcome farmer Larry Holmes? I'm going to pin him, add the pin. And let me see. There he is, y'all. Welcome, my dear friend, teacher, leader, farmer Larry Holmes. Thank you for being with us tonight, sir.
Oh, I'm so glad to. Glad you invited me to come on.
Oh,
I really
my
appreciate
God.
it.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, I just bounced out of choir rehearsal to get on.
Well, thank you. I know the choir misses you, so we're not gonna hold you long. They need your what you sing, tenor. You probably sing tenor, don't you?
Nothing baritone.
Oh, you in the baritone? Oh, they definitely need you. They definitely need you. So we're not gonna hold you long.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm excited about what you're doing. I really enjoyed Reverend Smith the presentation. A lot of good points.
Awesome.
Yeah, good points for us as farmers too. The
Yes.
whole thing about sustainability is very important.
I want to add, because that's where I want to lean in with y'all tonight, because I want to add another dynamic farmer. He's an OG in the farmer space in this country and really has done amazing work at a farm called Strength to Love 2 Farm in West Baltimore. So grateful tonight to have Brother Farmer Brian Ebrafall right with us tonight as well. I'm going to unpin myself and I'm going to pin you because you are the one that people need to see. All right, continue. There it is. Thank you so much, Brother Ebrafall, for being with us tonight as well.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is once again, I'm grateful to be here. This is the work that you all are working to do is absolutely instrumental and what we have to do to build like a truly robust system of food security nationally with Black folks. Years ago, I myself, listening to the pastor earlier, she spoke about trying to do so much by yourself. I myself tried to do a program called the Food and Faith Initiative, and recognizing that the majority of the green spaces that we have that could be utilized to foster some sense of food security in pretty much of all of our communities are churches.
Right.
Churches or masjids, and so places of faith. So I'm really happy to see this. And also, I think what's dynamic about this work is that what I see is you moving, really in the future, what we see that farming is going to is small scale. We see more farming is becoming more urban. And for you all to support farmers of different size farmers, those generations of farmers to inherit these acreages and things of that nature, they're not there anymore. But what we could see is that, creating a model of food security that looks at, farming holistically and looks at the food, whether it be distribution, whether it be the cold storage, whether it be these collective shared spaces, these collective sources of funding, all of these different things, I think is very dynamic because in order to create, food security, it's a holistic process. It's not just we can just focus on one thing and not focus on the other.
That's right.
So I think this is very dynamic, what you all are doing, and in the support, I must say, the Black Church Food Security Network is worked with our farm, Strength to Love 2 Farm in Baltimore, very significantly, and for us, it was powerful because that kick in came this time last year, and this is a hard time with customers and things of that nature. But more importantly, when you have sort of that that notion and that imperative to say where, we're looking to serve our people, and serving our people and getting food to our people. It could be a very dynamic process, and it could be difficult, whether you're in an urban area or in a rural area. I grew up in the country, and even in these rural areas, we're starting to see some of the same notions to where people don't know how to cook food no more. People don't even know what to do with the food when they get it. How do you store this food? How do you do this different things with this food? So creating a network in this very holistic web, I think is really important. And and we can really change dynamics of our community with this. There is no coincidence. I say it all the time. There's no coincidence that almost every creation story that we hear of started in a garden. There's no coincidence whether it's, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bible, the Quran, it doesn't matter. Almost every creation story started in a garden. And so this garden is the premise of how we build society. We don't build society just by growing food. We build society by learning how to do business, by learning how to trade, by learning partnerships. All of these different facets that we talk about when we look at society and the different institutions of society, we can find all of those on a farm.
That's right.
All of those are found on the farm,
Right.
in some way, in some shape, and fashion. And so I think this is just, we have, really, the template was given to us, upon creation, the garden, that was the template.
Yep.
And so for us, I think we have the template. We just have to utilize it and understand that, this is a, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. As Frederick Douglass said, there's no progress without struggle.
That's right.
And so this is something we have to go through. We live in a different time, but we live in a time where we have interest, where people want to do this, where people are moving to this. Even when we talk about produce, the largest group of plant-based eaters in America is Black people. The fastest growing group of plant-based eaters is Black folks.
Wow.
So we look at, we actually in a climate that's really great for what we're looking to do. And I'm just, I'm really grateful to be here, and to understand that, the churches can change truly the fabric of the economy of Black farmers, as Black farmers are just a dying breed collectively. If it's just collectively saying, hey, this year all of those churches, we know we're gonna want to buy, 20 tons of sweet potatoes. And this farmer knows that he has this already invested group, to purchase this. We could take this whole CSA model of farming and make it large scale, where people could prepay and support the farmers and change the economic dynamics of our communities and the health dynamics. And I mean, every other, it doesn't miss anything. It doesn't miss anything. So yeah, I think this is great, what we're doing. And, as I told Pastor, anything you need before, I definitely try to be here, because, this is, this work is, I think this is, the most powerful work that we could do, because, farmers and people who are in this food business, I like to say we all in the energy business. This is energy. This is the first initial energy that people consume, food. And so we are no different than, people who dealing with petroleum or wind or any other thing. This is energy. And I think, when we respect it in that manner, we approach it, with the best we can do it, I think we could grow well and build our communities.
I love it. I love it. That message dovetails so beautifully what we just heard from Reverend Kendra. And so I really hope those who are watching on Zoom, those who are watching on Facebook, y'all soaking all of this up. And just to give some context, and this will be maybe for some of you, the first time you hear from these farmers, but not the last, because this is part of our farmer family that, we're jumping at the chance to do business with every single year. But for those who do not know either one of you, I wonder, and we can start with Farmer Baritone Larry Holmes, the sweet potato man. Can you give a little bit of information, just kind of a little infomercial on your farm, what you grow, and where you are in the world? And then we'll ask the same of you, Ibrahim.
Yep, sure. Yep, sure, Reverend Brown. I'm gonna start, I guess, just a brief history.
Okay.
Of who I am in our farm. I worked for 40 years, retired from the USDA Department of Agriculture, worked for Natural Resource Conservation Service. So, and I was in 4-H, FFA, and went to Virginia State University, majored in agriculture. And I grew up on a farm, been farming all my life. But I worked the government side of things too. But we always had the farm looked at as a business. Our farm has been in our family over 100 years. My grandfather was 94 when he died in 1971 when I graduated from high school. So that made him, he was born just a few years after slavery. So, and he purchased the farm down in Virginia many years ago. My father worked it, and my son, my wife, and I, all my brothers and sisters, it's a family operation. We try to maintain the farm, keep it going. Because all of us were working a few years ago, we started doing sweet potatoes. Of course, we always raised sweet potatoes, but we started doing it in the big way, doing about 3 or 4 acres of sweet potatoes and greens. And we were doing that primarily because we didn't want to do a whole lot of spraying, which we didn't. We don't spray anything on our sweet potatoes or greens. But by doing them in the fall, we could eliminate the need for that anyway. And it worked for us. That model worked for us. So part of what we do is we can put together large orders of potatoes and greens, and we do a little something called value added. Rather than bringing you a whole big stack of potatoes, we'll package them up so when you get them, you have them ready for distribution. And that's our value add. We've been doing it for a while. We know how to do it. We know how to make it consistent, and we know how to make it, like Reverend Kendra said, make it look good. And we've gone through a lot of the pitfalls over the years, so we worked out a lot of things. So with sweet potatoes and greens, we've got that worked out pretty well. And we also can do watermelons in the summertime too. But we grew up doing all kinds. Somebody just put in the chat, I think, saw some of purple sweet potatoes. Yeah, we have purple sweet potatoes. Actually, I have 15 varieties on my farm, different varieties, and I have access to about 10 more from a couple of my buddies who farm, we partner. So we can get access to about 24, 25 different varieties of sweet potatoes. But we're excited about what's going on. Dr. Brown and I have been working together. It's about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And I've seen him grow. and we've worked on some things and talked and learned different things from each other.
That's right. That's right. And look, grow in more ways than one with all these potatoes I'm eating from Farmer Larry Holmes. He keeps me growing for sure. But I love the fact that with taters and greens from Brother Larry Holmes, that system, like that really helped me, just to let everybody know, that really helped me when I saw the way that you had your system already set up. It made it easy for me to bring the churches to the table, and then kind of like double Dutch, we just jumped into your existing system. And that's what I feel like a lot of our churches want to see. There's a whole lot of question churches will have. There's a whole lot of, wondering about how things work. When a farmer has a system already set up and we just can line up behind your system, it really helps a whole lot. Reverend Kendra, who y'all just heard from, that's one of the churches that we've helped to connect with Brother Larry Holmes, and they buy in bulk from him. We meet, matter of fact, last year, we met up together. He brought his sweet potatoes to Kingdom Fellowship, as he's done for the past, 2 or 3 years, I would say. And then just because of our growing relationship, he had another drop he had to do, but he had all of these sweet potatoes in his trailer. He hitched his trailer to my pickup truck and say, hey, you can go do the drop at the church and make sure they get what they need and just bring me my trailer later. And I'm like, man, this is what I'm talking about. That was, Brother Eberfall, it was the first time I've had a pickup truck for the past few years. Legit. I go preach sermons in my pickup truck, all of that. I'm legit. But I ain't never had no trailer on my truck. I felt like I was a bona fide farmer man when I had that trailer on my pickup truck. But
Yeah.
imagine the pride that I had when I was able to bring this mega church in terms of Kingdom Fellowship to this dynamic farmer and Brother Larry Holmes. And I'm excited to say I have way more churches that are ready and chomping at the bit to do business, to support, to be consistent. And really, y'all seen how organizations kind of like adopt highways or adopt schools? I got this dream of churches adopting farmers, and not just in the transaction of buying from a farmer, but really also thinking about how do we partner around infrastructure or systems development. Or every farmer I talk to needs labor, needs help, especially at certain times of the year. And so those are the things I love to think about. So that'll be my part 2 question. But before I go too deep there, I want y'all to hear from Brother Eberfall. Where are you farming, Brother Eberfall? What's the name of the farm? Where can people connect? What you're growing? What can we get from your farm?
Sure. I am farming. Once again, my name's Eberfall. I'm farming here in Baltimore at Strength to Love 2 Farm. I'm the farm manager. It's a small farm, it's just 1.5 acres, nestled right in West Baltimore. I like to say I think we are the truly the most urban farm that I've ever seen in America.
You got that right.
We grow 1.5 acres. We grow organically. I say we grow beyond organic, the organic standards. We grow sustainably as well. So that's where I'm located. I also am managing another project as well, but it's not a food-based project. It's another project that I think other Black churches, once it starts moving around, could really adopt as far as agriculture more in an industrial setting that's very lucrative as well. So I manage those projects. I'm the founder of the Black Urban Gardening Society, which is my own organization. So I'm the founder of that organization. So we do work, in sustainability background. I grew up in a little small town in Tennessee called Milan, Tennessee. Now this we country. So it's actually Milan, Tennessee, like Milan, Italy, but we say Milan. So I grew up in there. I grew up in an agricultural setting, grew up with, grandparents, farmers, dealing with the farming, the growing, the distribution. So I happened to be that kid who was always around it. I guess I wasn't fast enough to run away like the other kids when somebody was asked to work in the field. So I got it and I adopted it. And so I do work, in agriculture, not just growing, but what I love doing is helping to design and set up infrastructure and to set up, food growing systems that are, very holistic and very dynamic, that are lucrative and, build the soil as well.
I love it. I love it. So y'all, we got Virginia on the Zoom tonight, on the stream tonight. And I think, Brother Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, King and Queen County, Virginia.
King and Queen County.
Yep.
King and Queen County.
King County in the house. We also got Baltimore, and I gotta agree with Brother Eberfall, like the most urban of the urban farms that I've ever seen. Wonderful, beautiful, sacred space. And I love, even in the midst of that community, the way that space is a sacred space and a powerful space in that neighborhood. And when I think about sacred, holy spaces, I also think about this wonderful, wonderful farm in the Philadelphia community, the Sankofa Community Farm at Bartram's Garden. And I was really blessed some years ago to connect with Brother Chris Bolden Newsom, dynamic, spirit-filled brother. And I think I see Is that you on this line? Yes, Brother Chris is here tonight. And Brother Chris, can you just give, let me find you. I just want to give you opportunity as well, just to introduce yourself and share a little bit about, just by way of introduction, the farm, what you're growing, and maybe how churches can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, giving glory and praise to the Most High, honor to our ancestors. Thank you so much, Reverend Heber, for having me on tonight. I'm sorry I'm so late. I got caught up in family dynamics and tonight's catechism for my son. So I taught him, and then I got all messed up with the time. So I'm gonna have to go back up for dinner here in a bit. But I knew that this was a Black church experience and that you would go long. And
that's
so
right. That's right. Yeah.
I didn't feel terrible, but again, sorry for being so late. Yeah, I'm Chris Bowden Newsom. I take that. I don't know about all the other accolades. I farm in Philadelphia, but I do want to represent my true roots and true self. You also have Mississippi, Washington County in the house, represented by me. I'm a son of the Mississippi Delta and an immigrant to the North in Philadelphia, where I do this work. And another guy called me to this work about 10 years ago. We started the Sankofa Community Farm. It wasn't called that at the time. We were all mixed up with the University of Pennsylvania. We extracted ourselves so that we could do the work that we were really called to. We work right in the heart of sunny Southwest Philadelphia, where, if you know anything about Philadelphia, any of the bad stuff, a lot of that happens in Southwest, unfortunately. But there's also a lot of wonderful and beautiful stuff that happens in Philadelphia, where we are the probably the sister to West Baltimore. That puts you in any gives you any kind of context. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, we grow using natural agricultural practices. And we don't say organic because we're not certified. We don't get caught up in certification, but we do use I think people are calling it agroecology now, I think is a new word, right? So growing according to natural principles. Our basic thing is we have very few rules, and then most of them revolve around keeping a closed sort of circuit in our farm in terms of bringing as little as possible from outside of our farm into the space. What I mean by that is we don't use any inputs beside prayer and water. We moved even away from organic inputs and organic sprays and that sort of thing, and have been able to rehabilitate our soil to such a state where the microbes and the fungal kingdom is thriving. And so we specialize in growing traditional crops, traditional African American crops, and crops of the African diaspora in general. I'm in Philadelphia. I'm from the South. Overwhelming 85 to 90% of African Americans in Philadelphia are also descendants of the South. Most of them are Carolinians, North and South Carolinians, Virginians, and Georgia. And so that's very important to me. And I recognize, that I was always going home to get my field peas, and to get my turnip greens and that sort of thing, and or growing them in my backyard. So I recognize that this is our people's food here too, that many of them don't remember. When you say greens in Philadelphia, it might be like this in a lot of the northern cities. Folks think collard greens only, and I come from a mustard green country, so we prefer mustards and turnips to collards. And so I thought, so in addition to growing several varieties of collard greens, we grow all sorts of other greens, including African greens. We grow callaloo, where the callaloo grows us because we harvest most of it as wild. And it's just really a blessing. And we provide this to the community in markets, in donations and that sort of thing. In terms of how to work with the churches, it is a frontier that we've yet to really break into beyond working with churches through donations and giving, and that. And so we have a couple of churches that we work with who do receive our donations for their food pantry, their green food pantries. And I've started a ministry at church called Care of Creation Ministry, where we sort of go deeper into that from a spiritual perspective. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. I love to learn and listen and to hear about what other people are doing in order to move us forward.
Thank you so much, dear brother. And I appreciate, as always, your insight and
Absolutely.
You
Thank
said
you for having
catechism is tonight, so I don't want to pull you away. So any moment you got to tip your finger going off, please, please, family first, family
me. Oh, thank
first.
you so much. Yeah, I got about 10 minutes.
10
Then I
minutes?
got
Okay, good. In fact, we all got 10 minutes, but we
Okay.
shut this thing down. But
All right.
for the farmers who were here tonight, you have a lot of church leaders, pastors, those who have interest, but perhaps not a whole lot of experience
Mhm.
really being in partnership in doing business with a farmer.
Mhm.
Can you put on a pastor's hat for a moment? Y'all all are religious leaders in your own right, spiritual leaders in your own right. But can you put that hat on and slide your feet from a pastor's perspective, from a church leader's perspective? What should we be thinking about, or how should we be preparing our churches to really come along in true partnership with farmers? Like, what are some nuts and bolts type of things that come to mind for you that perhaps we just don't know about or not thinking about?
Well, this is Larry again. One thing that comes to mind right off the top of my mind is this whole thing about cooking and eating. Um, if church can help with some information for the congregation on dietary issues,
Mm.
you know, and what we put into our bodies, I think that will help quite a bit. This whole thing of what we're eating, how much we're eating, type of things we're eating, and then some information for if you got kitchens at your churches, do some workshops on food preparation.
Yes.
A lot of young folk, don't know how to prepare stuff and don't know how stuff is supposed to taste. But we have some tomatoes and things and cucumbers that come up, and now sweet potatoes. People always talk about they taste differently, but if you haven't had that fresh stuff, you don't know what you're missing, and you don't know what you missing, what's good for you. So I think, and also too, when you're working with the farmers, recognize that we farm, we love what we do, but in order for it to be sustainable, we have to treat it as a business. And I think that's what has helped us even since my grandfather days. We give away a lot of food, but we sell a lot too. My brother always says, buy something, then we'll give you something.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
because if help us that way also, because we have to treat it as a business.
Mhm.
And I'll shut up right now. Let someone else have a chance. But before I go though, someone put in the chat about some potato slips. Reverend Brown, just share my information with anyone who wants to reach out to me.
I sure will. And in fact, for everybody watching, we'll share the contact information to the farms that are represented so y'all can make those direct connections.
Yeah.
The person who asked about slips, they're in Washington, D.C. So that's going to be an easy connect.
Okay, yeah, we can make it happen quickly. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, good. We got 8 minutes for Brother Chris, and the rest of us have to go too. Brother Eberfall, does one thing come to mind, or one or two things come to mind for you, just in terms of how churches should position and posture themselves for true partnership with Black farmers?
Yeah, as it relates to, true partnership, I think what the pastor said, and I'm sorry, the gentleman just speaking before spoke about, looking at this in the context of a business, the way that we farm, looking at it in the context of a business. And I think churches really have the leverage to support farms who are interested in fresh food by letting these farmers know in advance, what type of crops you all are actually interested in purchasing from the farmers that could help, farmers who have flexibility with their crop planning and things of that nature to grow food specifically for that dynamic. If you want seeded watermelon, if you want, purple hull peas, or you want, like the brother mentioned, some mustard greens or turnip greens or whatever. If a farmer is prepared for that in advance, that I think churches could benefit, more dynamically from growers by getting something specific for them and what they're looking for. And in turn, that helps the farmer in many ways as far as crop planning and knowing that there's already some true preparation in it. And I'm sorry, and quickly, Pastor, what you talked about earlier about churches adopting a farm. We have corporations who adopt our farm. You know,
Wow.
so they adopt our farm and they donate to our farm and things of that nature. I see no reason why a church couldn't do that. I mean, that's very simple, particularly some of these larger churches. And I think a process of that adoption and what comes with that could also relate to an exchange in that adoption with food and things of that nature. So it could be a holistic process to where everybody's supporting each other.
Good gracious, this is heavy. This is heavy. Bro, Chris, go ahead. Add on.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to second what Brother Larry said, or what both the brothers said. Brother Larry said that the importance of reacquainting people with food, because that's something I noticed as soon as I got to Philadelphia too. When I was at my farmer's market and I bought up this beautiful garlic that slept in the ground for 9 months, and we harvested and we cured it for 2 weeks or more, and it's beautiful and big as your fist. My garlic is good, but when I put it out, I remember some years ago, a lot of young women who were still the heads of homes, they were unfamiliar with it, and they kept passing that by. And I said, "What are you doing? This is good garlic, and I got it for cheaper than I really, than it's really worth." And then one of the young ladies finally, told me, confessed to me, she said, "We don't know garlic. We only know garlic powder." And so
Wow.
that for me was an eye opener. So I do want to very much take it. Before we can get to, I love everything that's been said. First of all, I love it. And I'm going to put it in my playbook that buy something will give you something, because I like that model. I think that we have to attach value to food. We have to reconnect work to food. I grew up, my mama used to say so much, I can hear it in my head right now. If a man don't work, he don't eat. That's what she used to say, right? And so I think that disconnect, particularly in urban areas, is very striking, because we've had free food, we've had discounted food, we have people who think they're doing good by coming and dumping so-called food into the community. And there was a group, it was a church too, group well-meaning. They would come and they collect all the cookies and cakes and stuff from ShopRite all through the week, and then come and just dump all that stuff on the table right on the same day as my market.
Wow.
They did that for a long time. They didn't know what they were doing, but again, they thought they were doing a work of mercy. And I think the true work of mercy is to reacquaint people with food, because once you start doing cooking demonstrations and sampling that food out to people, and we can do that at church. We can do that at church. Church dinner, even if it's a particular feast day or whatever we're going to do, we're going to have a big old dinner. We're going to cook with the food from this farm that we've adopted, and we're going to show you how we prepared this food. People will buy it when they've tasted it. I guarantee you. And then, so that's where that value comes. So we promote EBT and that sort of thing. But yeah, I really love this idea of getting the churches connected by bringing the farm to the church. Coming in, doing cooking demos, and then every church too. Finally, I think also should have some either they have their own garden on the site, because many churches do still have enough land they could do a little community garden. And I'm happy to work with some of the churches here who are doing. Shout out to Reverend Caroline Cabinets, at Ardmore, at Ardmore AME. Who is doing this and working tirelessly to make sure that all the Black churches which have space, who tend to be, and I think it was you, Reverend Hebrew, who told me this a long time ago, and it's stuck in my head and I use it all the time, is this idea that churches still tend to be in Black communities the most assured landholding entities, right? So there should be a garden at each church, which means that every Black farm should offer help with building